The Enlightenment was an intellectual movement which took place in the 18th century in Europe, just after the Renaissance. This movement emphasized reason and science over faith and Catholic doctrine. Also, Enlightenment thinkers such as Locke, Voltaire, and Montesquieu spread new ideas about education, economy, and government. They promoted ideals such as liberty, tolerance, progress, constitutional government, and also separation of church and state.
Although there was so much progress and change in society from this century on, it was not necessarily the case of women. Following many philosophers' ideas, basic human rights were an innovation for people. However, they were designed for men, not women. Rousseau Samir expressed his beliefs that women should be educated just to be helpful wives and mothers. Ideas like this perpetuated women to remain within the domestic sphere, being assigned to activities such as cleaning, cooking, or children, for instance. At the same time, they were excluded from others that were reserved for men like science was. As we can see, there was not any kind of equality between men and them.
As we have talked about the Enlightenment, it is essential to mention one of the most relevant women figures that developed important ideas to contribute in this period, and that is Mary Wollstonecraft. Mary Wollstonecraft was a writer and a passionate advocate of educational and social equality for women. In her early days, Wollstonecraft taught school and worked as a governess, and these experiences contributed to her to write thoughts on the education of daughters. Also, she worked as a translator for a London publisher who published several of her works, including the novel called Mary, a fiction. But an important piece of her is a vindication of the rights of women, since it was considered a classic piece of early feminism. In this piece, she disagreed with Rousseau and expressed that women, like men, need education to become virtuous and useful. Wollstonecraft also fought for women to enter male-dominated fields like medicine and politics.
Cristina Elisa de Fernández de Kirchner is an Argentine lawyer and politician who is serving as the 37th Vice President of Argentina since 2019. She previously served as the interim governor of Santa Cruz from 1995 to 2007, also as a member of the convention, as a national senator in 1995, and as the President of Argentina from 2007 to 2015. She was the third woman to hold the Argentine vice presidency, the second woman to hold the presidency, the first directly elected female president, and the first woman re-elected to the office. Having Evita Perón as her reference figure, she brought a lot of hope to the women in the country, directly talking about them. She has understood that her position as a woman in power was going to make her work harder. She stated that we always have to pass a twofold test. First, to prove that, though women, we are not idiots, and second, the test anybody has to pass.
So, why would Mary be proud of Cristina? Well, when it comes to fighting the patriarchy, one could say that Cristina is an expert in it, just like she was.
Absolutamente. Sí, absolutamente.
She has been an advocate for gender equality since the beginning, and she's characterized as an independent, strong, and opinionated woman who has broken many firsts. For example, she promulgated two very important laws, the gender identity law in 2012 and the same-sex marriage law in 2010, which she considered to be a new opening to a more diverse society. Another reason is that she has faced serious backlash with the media, where most of the time the questionings were related to her personal life and they tried to overshadow her political beliefs, similarly to the judgments which Mary encountered. Christina was criticized for her marriage, her confident personality, her appearance, her children's lives, as well as being constantly accused of having affairs with every man she was seen working with. And finally, with everything we have explained, it goes without saying that Cristina made the most out of the civil rights which Mary demanded, and she has since become an educated woman with a respected political presence and setting an example for many generations of women and continuing to fight for equal rights and opportunities for all.
As we have seen, it is important to know that without women such as Mary Wollstonecraft and the brave acts during the 18th and 19th century, the world would be completely different. One thing is clear, there is always a reason to fight for, no matter if it is nowadays or in the historical period in which Wollstonecraft lived. It is impossible to have everything solved, so there has to be people who are determined to change the game. We have decided to compare Wollstonecraft to Cristina Fernández de Kirchner because they represent an inflection point for what society was and is used to. In the case, willing or not, they represent that for the feminist cause because they have modified, even a little, the perspective that society had on women. They have occupied positions, spaces, places that no other women had occupied before. In fact, Cristina Kirchner has a record because she is the first and only leader in history to occupy all national elective positions. No other man had done that. So we are sure that Mary Wollstonecraft would move to tears if she were alive and saw that.
Cristina is just a big example because she already is an icon. But Mary will be also proud of all those women who, although not being famous or recognized, have fought for their rights during their life to change their position. It has been a tough road, however, this is not the end, and even though having made huge changes, there are still a lot of work to do, since in many parts of the world, such rights are still denied and women are seen as mothers, wives and daughters rather than human beings. By the way, we are sure that there will be more improvements in social, political and economical issues, and that there will come up new figures just like Christina that will make Mary Wollstonecraft proud.